of the Ahri is going to go over to Hada once again. But we have to also consider the fact that Aphelios can also be picked up for AL here.
Aphelios could be the option. Or they could go with something to pair alongside this Ahri. Could go with a solo laner if they really want to. Some options open to them still. I do think that AD carry, like you say, Aphelios really could just be the option. I feel like Aphelios is still just the strongest AD carry on the patch, despite all of the shenanigans and what else has been available. I like Aphelios just consistently topping the table in terms of just being pretty solid in most compositions. I don't feel like there are many compositions that Aphelios really can't function in.
Yeah, and I'm gonna be real, been a sneaky bugger and I've been stalking Tangyuan's OP.GG, but he's been playing a lot of Azir games, so this is going to be the natural lock-in as that response to the blind Ahri from Hada. 2 games in a row now, but I feel like when it comes to the individual matchup with the Azir slowly creeping back into the meta is that he's able to match the wave control that Ahri is able to find herself in that mid lane. And of course, he is that extra bit of scaling that RNG can rely on. So AL maybe lock in something like the Nautilus and really get your hands onto these long-range carries that RNG have been able to secure themselves.
Yeah, Jinx not at all surprising to see as a lock-in alongside the Azir, right? You're setting up for those really long-range team fights. If you can get like a Lulu or something alongside that Jinx, then you are absolutely laughing later on in the game. See what RNG can do. What's going to be banned away by AL as well. But Harder, happy with the Nocturne. It worked for them in game number 2. Short LP, not on the Aphelios this time. In fact, on a champion that's even easier to dive.
Yeah, and a pick that we've been highlighting this series so far is that Rakan, and that could realistically be picked up by AL if let open by RNG, as we still have a lot of supports up and available for both the Jinx and Aphelios to be paired up with. I think the natural ones will of course be the Nautilus getting taken away by both sides and the enchanters like the Lulu, but AL sticking with a very similar identity to that game too, because why fix something that's not broken?
Absolutely. The Ornn denied, which was a really good tool for kind of follow-up engage when Xiaohao blasted the ultimate out. ZDZ was there with the Call of the Forge God. So I don't dislike that ban from RNG. We'll see if they're going to go for another top lane, another sort of tank engage. Maybe something like a Malphite could be a good ban as well if you're thinking that that's the kind of direction ZDZ will go in.
I'm gonna be real. I think I keep saying I'm a beer. Anyways, I feel like the priority on K'Sante has dropped so much, don't you think? We see in a lot of these drafts that K'Sante gets dropped to 4 or 5, not even copping a ban. And I'm not too sure why there's champions like the Malphite and the Gwen up and available to counter that, but I still feel like K'Sante is still a very good champion when it comes to these draws. He provides a lot of engage and side lane threat even in this early game as well, but we'll have to wait and see what AL decide to take themselves, because the Renekton is going to be up and available and they're going to save the counter pick for Zorah, which I want to see a Rakan out of this draw.
We'll see. I think this Renekton is the reason that the K'Sante is dropped in priority, right? I feel like Renekton has such a good matchup with the recent buffs. I can find that your K'Sante is bullied a bit in that top side. But ZDZ goes for the Renekton himself. Breathe. This would be a bit of a classic to see him back on the Gragas again.
I love Breathe on the Gragas because he is not afraid of going full AP Gragas, to the point where I think he has a relatively high damage share for RNG as well, as it is his most played, sitting on around 6 games. But no, RNG, they are going to deny this Rakan. I feel like Rakan, for at least the top teams in the standings right now, is the highest priority support out of the entire pool, and we see it out of both Missing and On utilizing this pick perfectly, playing alongside their junglers and closing the gaps. But AL, I mean, the Nautilus could perhaps just be the lock-in here and kind of match that engage with the lock-on for the Jinx and Azir.
I feel like Nautilus must be one of, if not the most locked-in champion over the last like 5 years, right? I feel like Nautilus is just always in the meta permanently.
You know what is probably the most locked-in champion? I think Aphelios might be the most locked-in champion. He has been.
Yeah,
was
maybe.
it you that made the tweet? Someone made a tweet on Twitter, and they were just listing down the previous 5 years of AD carry meta, and I feel like ever since Aphelios got released, he's been relevant till this day.
I don't know if it was my tweet, but I definitely agree with the sentiment. As Aphelios just since release has been a top tier AD carry. Even Zeri has fallen out of the meta, but Aphelios, no. See, the thing is with Zeri, only 150 years, whereas Aphelios, 200 of those years went into his development.
Design.
I don't know where the 150 came from. I'm assuming that they fired a developer before Zeri. I am just talking on my arse though, so who knows? Yeah, Aphelios though, just so it's the fact that you fulfill multiple roles with the different weapons, right? You're so flexible on that carry. And the combos at ridiculous range, just annihilating people. I mean, what can you do? Makes Azir look short-ranged.
Yeah. Especially when you have champions like Milio that exist that increase your range in those 5v5s. But once again, we're going to get the same matchup in the AD carry position, Jinx up against Aphelios. We have to remind the audience that LP, even in a huge disadvantage, he was still managing to win those team fights for RNG. So don't underestimate this Aphelios champion, as he is an absolute titan in the meta right now.
He really is. ZDZ moving into that top side. Do we have the third and final dance-off between our top laners here? Zorah trying to get some deep vision here, but will be contested and forced back out of that bottom side. I want to look at the top laners. Show me the dance-off. Are they doing it again? Emotes are there. Not dancing this time, though. Oh, it's tense. Game 3. It's serious now.
They're not friends anymore. This is a life or death. This is going to be a best of one, as ZDZ gonna kind of force breathe out of his own bush, but Wade does get that ward onto this rift, not the chickens. But I feel like this game, RNG, they're just waiting to scale for late. They have the Azir, they have the Jinx. I feel like Rakan is a very well-rounded champion where it acts relatively good as engage, as follow-up, and it also provides a lot of peel for this Jinx to kind of create space, because you have to consider the fact that AL, they have so many melee champions that LvMao can act as that peel.
He definitely can, if he can find those right situations. LvMao is certainly a player that is willing to go in on that Rakan as well. I feel like Rakan is one of my favorite supports to watch in the LPL. I feel like we have so many high-quality Rakan players in this league that it's always going to be a higher priority in LPL than it is globally, just because of the preference of the players. Zorah taking some heavy hits. Good little trade from RNG, as they'll force themselves the level 2 at this point as well. iBoy has to respect this.
RNG managed to secure the bush priority, and they are going to get forced off this first wave. But like you said, I feel like Rakan and maybe Thresh will always be my favorite support champions to watch in competitive league, just because of how high the skill ceiling is for both of these champions. Unfortunately, Thresh has finally fallen out of meta, where it just doesn't really feel the same as something like the Blitzcrank or the Nautilus nowadays. But hopefully for a resurgence, we get the replay of what happened here. It was AL making their way, trying to force that bush party, but RNG got there first, and Zorah got forced off. And this is kind of just how bottom lane is. Whoever gets the middle bush will secure level 2 first.
They certainly will. Being able to play with vision and control the lane. And whoever has control of that first wave pretty much has control until wave 4 comes into the lane. So can be really influential. And you can see that an early recall's come through from LP. Wei has snuck past vision here. I don't know if ZDZ suspects something. It feels like he's playing a little cautious. Or
they didn't see Wei on the ward though.
He's going to be hit down. He's going to be knocked back. Has the flash available. Should have to use it here as Wei waiting for that Q cooldown, but it's still a couple of seconds on it. And yeah, ZDZ will just walk out.
Surprisingly, not a kill going into RNG's pockets, while Xiaohao is going to secure that Subtle Crab for himself in this bottom side. But once again, Wei continuing the trend of playing around vision perfectly, dodging out that ward that was placed outside of the bush. Hook lands onto Zorah from Zorah.
Yeah, LvMao takes a bit of a hit. Not too much damage there. Xiaohao raining in the bottom side. Are they going to dive this one? This feels like quite a bold dive to go for. Level 4 Nocturne, not exactly a champion you think of for trying to make early dives happen, but decide against it in the end. The recall will come on through, and I feel like that's a good thing. If you're a fan of anyone's legend here, like as exciting as the dives are, I don't think that's one that goes well for them.
I feel like that's something BLG would do. They would just full send it and probably execute it perfectly, but I believe this ward did kind of spot Xiaohao, so RNG were aware of the Nocturne hovering with the 4 summoners up and available as well, but AL, they are just looking for those level 6 spikes and looking for that gap close to get their hands onto LP. Ideally, the Jinx wouldn't have her cleanse from a previous exchange. We'll have to wait and see how Zorah kind of pilots this Nautilus, as you can't cleanse knockups.
You certainly can't. Well, you can, technically. You can cleanse flash, right? If you're knocked into the air. It cleanses, like, the essentially, like, applied stun with a knockup, and then you can flash. It's a bit weird, but doesn't mean it's 2 summoner spells. So, generally speaking, no, you can't cleanse a knockup. But we'll see. We'll see how these interactions are going to go later on into the game as well. I'm looking towards Xiaohao as he heads towards that level 6 mark. Because Wei... not able to have much of an impact on the Vi just yet, trying to make a play on the top side, but ZDZ not even having to flash. Now moving down to the bottom side of the map, but spotted out. I feel like AL doing a really good job with their vision this time around, but Zorah might have stepped too far forward. Has the flash available. The Flame Chompers making him walk the whole way around. There we go. Flash comes through. It's a great hook onto the wall, though. Max range. Zorah will just about get out.
Dragon is up and available, and it is going to force Zorah to reset here. I feel like he could have just instantly committed the flash over the Chompers, and it would have saved AL a bit of tempo for this first major objective, but it is going to naturally fall into Wei's pockets. And a little bit of a mistake coming out of the support of AL, but I like how you were talking about just the overall AL identity, because I want to talk about how my biggest critique for this team is definitely surrounding ZDZ's problems, where he was the one giving a lot of opportunities to the enemy team through just solo kills, and through that first gank battle away, he was able to avoid danger, so it is a very good positive sign as this final game.
Certainly is. ZDZ certainly not getting caught out just yet in this one. Has those Merc Treads now as well, so he'll survive the top lane matchup a little bit better. And one thing that's worth pointing out, the grasp there for Breathe, as well as a Balmy Cinder now picked up as well. So he's going for that tank Gragas. Makes sense in the composition, but not going to be that AP Gragas that you alluded to during chapter select. And we know Breathe does like to play for that.
They don't know Xiaohao there. He's 6.
He used the spell shield, but they missed anyway. He's going to cancel the recall. He's sorry, he's going to commit to the recall and head on back anyway.
Yeah, it does seem like the Rift Herald is going to be the next objective for RNG to contest. Not too much of an exchange in this bottom side. I would love to see the support of AL resetting on this wave and then linking up with Xiaohao and trying to kind of secure this Rift Herald. A bit of a late back. Or at least he's not even going to back at all, while Ivoy is the one actually resetting first. So a bit of a weird exchange coming out of the 2 supports. You already see LvMao channeling his back, so Zorah is going to be very late to the play if he even wants to reset. Expecting a full-on 4v4. Oh, Dragon's still up, so that is going to be the up-and-coming one. I thought Wei took it, but he just left midway.
Seems like Zorah is trying to make a play in the mid lane instead. That's why he's not reset here, but not level 6. And it means Tangyuan can slide his way to safety. Good attempt here. I like the tempo play from Zorah, seeing the resets coming through on the other side, sees an opportunity, but won't find the play in the end. And it does mean that Tangyuan and Harder, both their ults on cooldown.
Yeah, we do see a exchange in objectives as AL. They're gonna secure this Rift Herald. I wouldn't be surprised if they just plop this top lane and force plates into Iboy while he does have the chakrams as well. It's something very common that we see out of a lot of these LPL teams, especially when you are given a champion like Aphelios. You get those 5 plates early on when you place the bottom lane duo up against the top laner, where they aren't able to respond to that. But Harder now alone in this bottom lane. Wei wants to look for an engage.
That's a minion wave and a half right there, isn't it? Flame Chompers underneath the play. That's going to be a kill into the pocket of LP. Wei walks out, and the reset for Jinx, the get excited, means he can just shred through this tower. He'll deny another wave on top of it as Iboy tries to get down there. But LP feeling real good off the back of that play.
And because Harder had to use his ultimate from that mid lane exchange, he didn't have that Spear Rush to escape from the dive, but I feel like we need to keep Harder away from a lot of minions because he seems to get really easily invested into it. We saw in game 2 where he had to burn 4 dashes for a wave, and now Walk of Shame back to mid lane, not receiving a single CS shown by the observers. I mean,
you can see as well, like in the scoreboard, it's a 20 CS lead, in fact, over that for Tangyuan on this Azir. You mentioned that he's been practicing the Azir in solo queue, looking good on it so far. And the thing is, like, it's not like that whole 20 CS lead came from that last little passage of play. Like, he already had a CS lead building up, and then that's just a bonus wave in his favor from Harder trying to rotate to the bottom side. So really, really well played by Tangyuan so far in this laning phase. And I feel like Tangyuan, across the course of not just today, but this split, has been just leveling up consistently, changing his style, showing that he's a multifaceted mid laner. He's definitely in the conversation for me of Rookie of the Split.
Yeah, he's stepping up as that carry of RNG and Wei, now defaulting to more of a utility, or at least setup for his identity. But now with the levels coming online for this Azir, he's going to find natural push up against Ahri, and that does give a lot of space for LvMao and Wei to work off. However, we haven't seen too much out of the support and jungle of RNG just quite yet. Still a relatively slow early game considering that both sides have a lot of great scaling, but if it was me, I would be much more happier as RNG is dropped in this game 3.
RNG feeling good if it goes to the late game. Xiaohao, though, has got the paranoia online, has yet to find an opportunity to really make that stick to anything. But with the Herald in pocket, it's about to time out. I feel like he needs to make something happen. And did he just slam it in the mid lane? No, still in his pocket. I feel like the timer on the Herald, though, is a bit bugged on the observer overlay.
Yeah, there's a couple things that are bugged right now.
Like, it just timed out, but obviously he's still got it. You can see it in his inventory, so I think the timer's just a little bit funky at the minute. As Tangyuan doing really well in these trades onto Harder.
Yeah, not a lot of charms connecting onto this Azir, while you see that Wei and LvMao are utilizing, at least leaning towards his bottom side to act as that counter for the Rift Herald being placed for iBoy. However, like you said, it hasn't been placed just quite yet, so it is slowly ticking out of time, but it's so incredibly hard trying to walk into this bottom side. I mean, just look at the vision that LvMao has been able to plant in the past few minutes.
Yeah, I mean, it's completely lit up the bottom side of the map. It is that first Drake, but next one up in a minute and a half here for the side of RNG. They're 1,000 gold up as Breathe will crash a massive wave and will be rewarded with a tower plate for his trouble as well. I don't think he'll get a second one here unless he can maybe get away with this. Trying to escape, the fear going to come on through, but he is tanky. Oh, but Zorah's here too. There's no way he's getting out of this one. The knockups galore as iBoy even gets himself the minion wave before moving on over. Xiaohao happy to take the kill after iBoy is cast aside. And there we go, Herald finally coming down.
And it is going to be naturally placed towards the top side. 3 plays already secured for iBoy on this. I feel is maybe looking for a 4th as the chakrams come online. But no, RNG's bottom lane also responding to this rotation. But like you said, really good proactive play from AL and getting that kill onto Breathe. Zorah on an engaged support is exactly what I like out of this AL roster. He just has so much follow-up to Xiaohao's aggressiveness, and it is what's working for them so far.
Well, it certainly is. AL get themselves on the board, even up the gold difference, and the plate for ZDZ in the bottom side as well. Feels fantastic. Especially with a lot of that gold going into the pocket of iBoy, you need to have this Aphelios online, as well as Xiaohao manages to get the kill credit. Does feel like they're ticking a lot of boxes. It's the Azir that I'm worried about for them. I feel like Tangyuan, for me, has been, like I said in the game 2, the main character of this series, trying to carry in game 2 on the Syndra. Had an amazing game number 1 of the series. Now on the Azir, a big old CS lead to work with, already finished his mythic. He really can be the driving force for RNG.
Most definitely, and RNG, although giving over that 1 kill in the top side, I feel like the main carries in this Jinx and Azir, they're more than happy with the current game state. Like you said, even the Shadow Crown getting picked up for Tangyuan right now, he is going to be under no threat whatsoever, having all summoners available as well. AL have to be the ones pulling the trigger. They have to be the ones proactive. And I feel like that has to be through Hada and Xiaohao, as they have to kind of start synergizing together and catch this Azir in the side lane. And he isn't able, well, he shouldn't be able to be alone and this pushed up.
No, it does need to be a little cautious. Fairly slow one so far, and you kind of anticipate this pace of game continuing for the foreseeable. Herald coming up in 10 seconds time, and it feels like RNG with control of the area. Although that said, LvMao actually resetting, as is LP, so perhaps not liking the idea of going for the Herald straight off of the bat here. Tada pushed in on the top side. Zorah walks over a ward though, so won't find an opportunity onto Tangyuan.
Tangyuan playing very disciplined in the side lane, as there's a lot of great vision set up by RNG now. The pink ward is going to get cleared by Zorah, but that does signify that they do have idea of where the support is at least. If RNG don't die in the side lane here, I feel like they do have the advantage when it comes to the 5v5 because of their front to back ability.
And Breathe taking some hits from ZDZ, but you know, on the Gragas, he's going to be fine. Built the Sunfire Cape, has a lot of sustain in his kit as well. Boy, white and green weapons could be useful for the Herald. He's going to use the white weapon though, just to clear this wave as fast as possible. Can use the last bit of ammunition to place a turret to make sure that they can try and siege this tower as fast as possible. Harder TP's in. LP is here alone. Is the TP going to come through from Tangyuan as well to try and defend? They've got to clear this wave. Zorah caught out here as the zap goes over the wall, and Tangyuan will follow it through to finish the kill. It's a beautiful little kill for RNG as Zorah way too far forwards.
Yeah, I saw way over the blue buff wall and just knew Zorah was way too caught out of position. That is going to mean the Rift Herald now getting started by the side of RNG. There is an ultimate available.
LvMao really underestimating the presence there, but he gets out. And the Flame Tromper's dropped there just in case Xiaohao follows up on a paranoia diving underneath the tower. LP doing everything he can to keep his support alive, and now a TP coming through from Breathe. Behind enemy lines is Highboy and Harder with no ultimate. Highboy flashes though and keeps himself safe as Harder will now get out as well, and suddenly it's a little bit dodgy for Breathe. He's in the middle of 5 players. He's getting collapsed upon and taken down. LP doesn't have the damage to carry this fight just yet, but Tangyuan will dissuade the follow-up for now. Highboy really wants a bit more. Gravity on in as another Calibrum to follow it up as well. LP really bullied.
I mean, I'm so sorry, Breathe. That flash E was not it, but Zorah, he's caught out of position again.
What is going on in the last couple of minutes to this game? Zorah caught out now as LvMao turns it back around. Oh, he's on a ward. He's recalling a ward. Harder, no ultimate available for him. Waze is about to come off cooldown. No! There was a second on it, and the Everfrost gets Harder away.
You know, the highlight for me out of all of that was the MVP was Highboy. He spotted that Breathe had a TP flank angle, and he predicted that the Gragas was going to flash E, and he placed the blue ward onto this flank from the Gragas. But we'll get a replay from the very beginning where 2 ultimates committed onto this Rakan, and he got away scratch-free. So it kind of felt like RNG were the winners out of this as they secured the Rift Herald. Well, they kind of had to stop it for a bit, but I feel like they do get it eventually, while Breathe committing the TP, looking for Highboy here, but the blue wall getting placed meant he anticipated this engage out of the Gragas, and now without the flash available or the E, it was just bit of a sad situation to be Breathe, but I feel like RNG, they still managed to salvage it by finding those individual picks back onto Zorah.
Take a look at Tangyuan's inventory though. 2 full items finished off. 185 CS as well at 18 minutes. He is feeling terrifying on that Azir, but ZDZ has had a lot of free time in these side lanes. He's getting pretty monstrous himself as he tries to finish this tower off, and will be able to do so. Gordrinker finished off. His farm is looking very healthy. Should be able to head back and pick up a second item fairly shortly. So very nice stuff in the side lane from ZDZ. And like you said, we're looking for consistency from this player.
Yeah, but something else that's also kind of being a sore thing to my eye is that this Ahri is now down 50 CS or so. And now the Rift Herald gonna get placed in the mid lane, and I feel like Tangyuan having a great game 3 as well, as LvMao trying to contest the vision towards his bottom side, but they're gonna lose all party in mid lane.
Herald use to find their way into this bottom river. And once again, RNG have got those first two Drakes. Xiaohao has been spotted out. I don't think you get away with this one as Wei hunting him, but the rest of AL are moving over as well. Xiaohao trying to escape, but knocked back by the Empress Divide, and the CC chain is just too much, but he's still alive. He's still escaping, and in the meantime, the rest of AL are winning out the rest of the fight. Xiaohao with some heroic zips out of the portal, and now the rest of the fight can kick off, but Hard has gone too deep, and LP survives somehow. iBoy has to be the carrier. ZDZ uses a stopwatch to buy time. Tangyuan still here. His Sand Soldiers hitting hard at this point. It's a 1-for-1. Harder for Wei. I feel like RNG, they still can't contest with no jungler.
Hada does have the TP available, so they're able to buy enough time. I mean, Baron spawning, good hook.
It's onto LvMao though. That Rakan's so slippery. Reed won't be able to get in, and there we go. Drake taken by AL. I cannot believe Xiaohao managed to escape that play.
I mean, I can kind of expect it because Harder acted as decoy and ended up trading 1-for-1. We have, I mean, both teams resetting for this Baron now. Also that Dragon getting secured by Ale, so it does deny the soul point away from RNG quite a lot. I feel like the Observers is trying to tell us that LP didn't go pick up his red buff and went to top wave instead. Is that the message?
I don't know. I feel like that's reasonably standard. Like, we're probably not going to fight for the next few minutes anyway. The red buff is not that big of a deal comparatively to a minion wave. I feel like, you know, I vibe with that. I'm on board, LP. I respect it.
Yep, but something that I am not really on board is this Gragas. I feel like he has to play out of vision to find the successful engages onto AL. They're quite slippery, even iBoy having the Gale Force and flash up very soon. RNG, they have to play with their vision very nicely. Wei is charmed. I think it's going to result in anything, but oh, I have to hold my breath. This game is quite fun to watch, considering these mid-skirmishes. Look at what Xiaohao was doing here.
He's trying to find the flank. There's Wei hunting for him. Didn't expect him to move back upwards like that, but then after the Emperor's Divide, I was so sure it was done and dusted, but Wei.
I mean, Wei, yeah, he ulted onto an Ahri that was spirit rushing into 4 people, but Xiaohao used his ultimate to connect onto LP, and it went over the chompers and also took the Hex Gate to escape, but Ale kind of biting off more they could chew and kind of overcommitting there, but it wasn't too bad after all. I feel like ZDZ on this Renekton definitely still a bit of a threat in the side lane, as Breathe, he is looking for those 5v5s on this Gragas.
Yeah, a bit of a tough one from Wei there. Really picking the wrong target, and had he just used that ultimate onto Xiaohao, it's pretty much a guaranteed kill for his team. The jungler going down, and that would be sole point for RNG. So a bit of a whiff there from a player that, honestly, this split has looked absolutely fantastic. Bad games can happen to anyone, I suppose. 2 items, though, finished off for him. As we already mentioned, Tangyuan already having his 2. 2 for LP as well. But that's going to be matched on the other side as iBoy, you know, feeling strong in terms of the items, not feeling strong in terms of where he stood on the map. Caught out by Tangyuan.
I'm assuming Wei was able to he managed to get his hands onto this Aphelios. I'm pretty surprised he didn't just go into his tower. He had the flash available, he had the Gale Force, but a really nice follow-up from Tangyuan. They're gonna look to start the Baron and force the 4v5 here.
Imagine managing to steal away that previous Drake after a miraculous play and then getting caught mid. Potentially losing Baron off of it. Drake still, Baron still active. ZDZ's on the flank harder. Looking for more though. The charm gonna be cleansed here. Keep your eyes on LP. He's in all kinds of trouble. Trying to escape on the backside of the play. But Xiaohao will go down before he finishes the kill. And in the meantime, Tangyuan and Breathe are tearing them apart. They won't get a single kill. And it's a double, triple kill for Tangyuan. They decimate AL.
And RNG's carries live on 1 HP. iBoy, he does have the Infernum. Can he make a miracle happen?
Gets one onto LvMao, but one just ain't enough here. iBoy, you got to be careful. It will back away, but the Baron taken by RNG.
I mean, it's so insane to me to think that LP managed to live that Baron fight, but we'll get a replay of how iBoy died. It was just the flash engage out of way and a really beautiful follow-up from Tangyuan and pushing iBoy further away from the safety of his own tower, and the AD carry of AL just overstepping by himself in the mid lane. but all eyes onto LP. It literally was that one spell difference about this Jinx dying as the charm hits onto the Jinx. No summoners after this either. And everything committed but not dying, and she manages to get the reset from Xiaohao and continues to DPS.
Absolutely insane. The fact that LP survives at like sub 100 HP here, like, I don't know how they got away with that one, because it's not like this team is designed for protecting the AD carry necessarily. It's much more about diving onto iBoy, but they managed to make it work. There's a good little combo onto LvMao, but ultimately it's only that single play. I saw him walking towards the pit with Infernum available. I was like,
I've seen
is
this
he gonna
happen
get
before.
the big ulti? Yeah, but it doesn't happen for iBoy. So now with Baron in pocket to 4, well, actually no, only 3,000 gold lead in favor of RNG, but their third Drake available on the map. If they can secure it, Xiaohao really wants a pick, but I don't think Bree's gonna walk into it.
You know what? I feel like if it was release failures, he would have gotten a pentakill there. But unfortunately, and also the Baron. But unfortunately, the 200 years has been nerfed to a bit of a 150 years, like you said from earlier. So not as broken as what it used to be. But AL now in the loser's position with the Baron getting picked up with a scaling composition. Items, 3 items for Tangyuan now, and he has so much peel out of the Zhonya's and the Shattered Crown as well. So realistically, the only target you want to look for is LP in these team fights.
Oh, the hook's so close from Zorah. ZDZ is behind enemy lines, flashing straight towards LP. The whole gang flashing at LP, and they will assassinate the AD carry. That's going to be LvMao gone as well. It's a huge fight here for AL. They find 3 out of nowhere.
Hey, they did it! They got their hands onto the AD carry of RNG, and they managed to just instantly delete them. I mean, Tangyuan does have the Baron buff available and enough siege. He just has to survive for an extra 20 seconds. I don't know if AL can look for the mid inhibitor. We'll have to wait and see because they want to look for it.
I think they can get the inhib. I don't think they'll find anything more than that, though. Tangyuan and Wei are here, and the respawn's coming through in 10 seconds time. AL certainly can't end the game, but man, what a play. Hang on a second. This is a huge pick. Tangyuan and Prince Divide available. Instantly going to be used here as he dashes out to safety. Doesn't even need to flash. But AL, hey, mid-inhib taken. When you just lost Baron, you'll take that. Hang on. RNG don't want to let this play end just yet. Both solo laners behind enemy lines here. ZDZ tanking up for now as Breed tries to find an entrance in, but just blown apart himself. Now the re-engage from AL. It's a front to back, which is Azir loves, but are they going to be able to win it? LP untouched for now as he's getting the resets, and Tangyuan escapes with his life. iBoy the next target as LP charges forward. Wants a bit more, but ZDZ's there to cut him down. No! LP had to be huge, replacing Gala, and makes it happen. Tangyuan now alone in a 2v1 and doesn't have the damage. Xiaohao with 1,000 gold.
They don't have a wave mid lane though. They have 1 super, so they can't look for the end as time as I believe it's 20 seconds on Wei and LvMao. So AL surprisingly coming out on top after a double TP flank out of RNG. But LP, I mean, he flashed forward and made it an even trade surprisingly.
I don't know what on earth just happened in that fight. RNG pulled the trigger, but ZDZ doing such a good job of denying entrance to Breathe here.
Yeah, I feel like Breathe on this Gragas so far, it is his most played champion, but it's been a bit lackluster with his barrels and his casks, as it just sends the carries further away. But like you said, I mean, it's so hard to live once you're in this type of situation from Xiaohao, but no one was contesting LP on these grounds as every resource was used onto the support and Tangyuan, but the 2 carries of RNG lived on 1 HP, and they're going to go in. But I feel like ZDZ on this Renekton, an absolute monster so far, and definitely redeeming himself from the previous few series.
A hell of a play from LP, trying to carry it, but unfortunately not enough. Tangyuan moves in a little too late. And I mean, with all of the ultimates on cooldown, it was a bold play from RNG. But look at their carries. 5, 1, and 6 for Tangyuan. 5, 2, and 5 for LP. Both on 3 items as well. We were talking about the late game scaling. Well, we've got to that late game. Tangyuan is almost 100 CS up. That is insane.
Yeah, soon-to-be Flame Horizon in this mid lane, but the dragon is going to be spawning in 1 minute and 20 seconds. It is going to be Hex Soul for the side of RNG and also Baron in 30. I wouldn't be surprised if AL contests for both as they are now moving their way towards this Baron, but you also have to consider the fact that they have 3 stopwatches and 2 GAs available, so they pretty much have to kill them twice. RNG, they need to tread very carefully and try to contest this Baron because they don't want to give away either.
It's a really tough one as well because, you know, the supers in mid lane, not necessarily the best at pressuring onto the map. With an Azir and a Jinx, you can easily deal with those super minions. So the pressure not really there from the lack of inhib. Actually, a minion wave being protected. Could try and threaten the tier 2 in the mid lane, but Baron started here by AL.
ZDZ, he does have a nice flank angle, but LP, he's very cautious around this. He's spotted.
Looking for a quickness from LvMao as Way's going to be found. Baron's just going to be taken. AL have got the Baron, and now they look for a fight as well. Empress divided to keep the carry safe here. Xiaohao into GA as LP alive. Times the rocket wrong, though. Boy popping off in this one. ZDZ looks for LP. Tangyuan with the shutdowns. He needs to find Boy. The soldier's over the wall, but he can't do it. And now ZDZ chasing onto LP. The fame chompers are huge, but it's Boy with a triple kill as LP desperately tries to escape with his life.
Hada does have the TP though. I think AL, they're trying to look for the end here. Did they do it? The Baron secured. They have the minions now. Double TP out of the solo laners as well. It's looking like a 3-1.
LP, you've got to make a miracle happen here. QSS just purchased, needs to be able to survive this charm. QSS immediately is Captain Jack on the scene as the wave has to be cleared as fast as possible. ZDZ charging forward though, and there's another wave. LP can't do it. AL are going to make the magic happen. The upset comes on through. RNG taken down, and the Panda Warriors stand tall.
And AL break RNG's 2 series wins and continues their own. I mean, take the Baron, RNG, because we're gonna take this series win up against you guys, and I